Well, hope you're all having a good day. I've got a package. I actually decided to open it out here, not to disrupt my wife and not at work. I was just watching YouTube for lunch anyway. Which, by the way, FedEx, I'm sorry. My front door is not my back door. I'm going to have to go call them and remind them.
This is fine.
A nondescript brown box. What is in the brown box, you say? Well, I sit you up here for a moment. This brown box is a package from Goodwill. Goodwill auction in particular. I'll try to link the actual auction listing. This is supposed to be a Dell Latitude 5400. Now, the listing claims 4 gigs of RAM, which I highly doubt because it is an 8th gen Intel system. And I'm pretty sure by the time 8th gen was out, we didn't sell systems with 4 gigs of memory, but maybe some RAM's been removed. I'm sure you can see something. Oh yeah, here we go. Hold on. We've got the foam with the cancer pellets. Popcorn.
Stop it. Get some help.
And underneath all these cancer pellets is the package. The real package. I'm actually kind of glad I opened this in here because this shit gets everywhere. I would not use it for packing. Yeah, I guess for now, we'll just set it up there. I'll put it on recycling later. And we're going to get to the important part. The computer itself. So I'm going to put you back over here, and hopefully you'll be able to see. Don't know much else about it other than it tested boots to BIOS. So, I know at least that much. Now, their packaging didn't show that. But apparently this label is maneuverable. It is a Latitude 5400. And it looks like it's in... Ooh. Core i7. So this is supposed to be one of the last actually somewhat decent Latitudes. And we'll go ahead and set this out of the way. And as you can see, here, it's in pretty reasonable condition. It says 4 gigs of RAM. I don't believe that. I know these are upgradable anyway, because it's got the i7. There's no way there's only 4 gigs in here. Looks like we've got the fancy power button. That might even be fingerprint based. Got a reasonable screen with the shutter. This is a very high-end machine. This actually might be too nice to use as a testing machine. Got your Ethernet. We've got SD card, USB, HDMI, your Kensington lock. It looks like a SIM card tray as well. On the other side, we have USB-C and a barrel jack and a USB-A and a smart card reader. That is USB-C with DisplayPort. That is probably Thunderbolt. It's supposedly Intel 8th generation. So I say we go ahead and use this Dell adapter sitting here. Plug it in. I will actually take this in and do further testing. Probably load an operating system, SSD, that sort of thing. So yeah, let's go ahead. Does she fire up? Backlit keyboard. Well, we'll give it another few seconds and then we'll power cycle it. I don't see... Now, there is a common problem with these that is probably an issue with this one. The CMOS is probably fucked. What that also probably tells me, since it's not posting, is it probably needs RAM. Oh, nope, there it goes. Just needed a quick hard power off. So, let's see what's in the BIOS, shall we? Hey, Dell? Hello?
Communication?
I've tried all frequencies.
And she's clearly not too happy. Might not even like this charger, to be honest. It might need more.
More power.
We're superheating. Intermix temperature 7,400 degrees.
But she does seem to work. Alright, so we are a Dell Latitude. It does have 4 gigabytes of memory installed with a single DDR4 DIMM. That is amusing. But that is an i7-8665U. That is the i7 model. Realtek Wireless, Intel UHD. Looks like it's just Intel graphics, which is perfectly fine. That's a 1080p display right there. This laptop's lit. This is a nice machine. Now that 4 gigs of RAM, I'll upgrade it. I've got some DDR4 laying around that should be comparable to what would be in this thing originally. So maybe we'll bump it to 8 or 16. We'll see what I have in stock. But that's fantastic. No excuse at all for this thing not to run well. Looks like the battery is at 45% and charging, or discharging, because, oh, I didn't have the power enabled. $90-watt charger, it is charging. Okay, so it did have battery charge. So it looks like they did they remove the hard drive? They did. There's no primary hard drive. These should take NVMe drives, and I should have a 512 or a 256 in the house. We'll see what I have. I'll do a full rundown later. But it looks like for the most part, this is just a factory reset BIOS. Wonder what the system logs tell me. Time of day not set. No thermal events. Looks like power events. I don't see anything ridiculous, so. And we do have a fingerprint reader, so I'll be curious what device that is, if it's compatible with Linux or not. This is even a new enough machine to officially support Windows 11, so I don't know, guys. Do you want me to put Windows 11 on here and mess about with it?
Fuck Microsoft! Okay. Fuck!
I guess you guys will let me know. Okay, so hopefully this doesn't sound too bad. So now we're just going to watch me install Linux Mint. I know it's a very difficult process, but it's kind of one of those installers. I've done it enough times now that I guess I don't think about just clicking next over and over again. So it's just go ahead and click continue and, install the codecs, that sort of thing. It does give me an error here that you won't see. It's because I use Ventoy. And then we're just going to erase and install. This SSD was blank anyway. But, if it wasn't, you'd want to look at it. Again, it asks me because I have Ventoy plugged in. It's always going to be the internal drive, which is an M2 SATA SSD, unfortunately. That is my own fault. And then I'm just going to fill out the information here, and we're just going to power through this installation like it's nobody's business. Basically put in a super secure password, which, oh no, my password's ... But from here, it's just we're just gonna let it plow through and keep on going. So this is just gonna be me sitting here and doing a whole bunch of stuff. And honestly, tweaking that script, letting these things run, to be honest, because I've gotten to the point here where I've written a bunch of scripts, and they're on my GitHub page. I plan to put more effort into them in the future, so they're kind of still Debian, but like you want to install a particular package, it will give you options for these packages, Even though some of these you could just open the software manager and go get, sometimes it's handy to have a setup script. Like I have one that sets up my TLP profile. I have one that does all my post-install stuff, which is what you're currently watching. And just being able to set these up, have the script run, do everything I need it to do, and then just walk away and just not have to deal with it is terrific. It's something that if you can get that far, write a little bit of bash, it's great. I could also just sit down and through GUI options install all of this. It is not something that I have to use the terminal for. I choose to use the terminal here because this is incredibly efficient. I'm going to go ahead and close everything out. I installed my libfprint for my Broadcom. Here you'll see me set my mirrors to the Purdue mirrors. Originally I usually use university mirrors. I actually use advanced hosters now because Purdue's mirrors are being really weird and I'm having trouble with them, particularly with Firefox and whatnot, just failing to update or timing out 404 errors. So I did change this step here. And then honestly from here, it's just installing my different extensions and whatnot. You know, I add a few extensions. You know, I don't do mouse shake anymore. I used to. It was fun while it lasted. But if you like that, you can do that. And then just customizing the system to my liking. You know, I'm a little hard of seeing sometimes, so as I've gotten a little bit older, so I turn up the fonts. I change the bar size. I try to keep everything pretty much the same. It's not perfect. Fractional scaling would be better, but fractional scaling on systems these days is pretty tough. UI scaler is another way you can kind of cheat, per se, and get a semi-good looking experience. But, you know, it's all up to you and what looks good to you. So, a few things have happened since. Like most things, life got in the way. I wasn't really able to finish the install you saw there. In fact, that was done all the way back in September, if I'm breaking the fourth wall. And then I've continued to use this machine. I've, in fact, talked it up to several people. And so what are my kind of final thoughts with this thing? I've got a load of Mint 22 on here. This was actually the first computer I put 21.3, as you saw on. And then I did the first upgrade, official upgrade on this machine from 21.3 to 22. And it went pretty flawlessly. I don't remember if this was the machine I recorded for the video or not, but it is one of those things where I forgot. I have the footage on my hard drive and life got in the way. And so what are my final thoughts on this thing? This is an outstanding laptop. I paid about $80 to the door through Goodwill to get it here. And sure, it had RAM in it. It didn't have an SSD, but I mean, come on. I've got SSDs, you know. Spare, some junk, some not junk, some barely holding on. And sure, it's an M2 SATA SSD. I'd like to upgrade this thing to a full fat NVMe, but that just wasn't in the cards. I didn't have a spare one. What I would really like to do, come at some point, is get this thing up to an NVMe drive, maybe because of my new decisions with how the device is going to go. Move it from Mint 22 like this to LMDE, because I actually had a change in heart with this machine. So when I originally bought it, and I can't remember if I said so or not, but I actually intended for this thing to be a test bed, to test things. That's what I had the previous machine that was in this role for. And that machine died. It was a Latitude that has 3000 series Latitude that had a Quadro or a GeForce card in it. And I was going to use it to test different distros, because NVIDIA drivers do get packaged differently in different distributions. And I was going to try that out. And that system, apparently that GPU got baked too hard, and the moment I started actually using it, doing some benchmarking, it went up into flames. So it never made it even to the channel. Even with a brand new fan and everything, that GPU was cooked. But this machine, which you haven't seen yet on channel, you have actually seen it. I've recorded some videos with it. This is a 12th gen HP. This was my travel laptop. However, I have found that while this is a nice machine, it's got some serious battery life concerns due to how it was treated. And so it's kind of out of that role and into testing, which is fine. 12th gen is still kind of weird on Linux anyway. This will get its own video, trust me. But this thing's going to be relegated to testing now, and I can leave it on Mint for that. Just testing software, testing different packages that I find, maybe even throwing a distro or something on there randomly, that sort of thing. This guy, on the other hand, is going to now be my travel laptop. It's 14-inch, it's compact, it's got a fingerprint reader, which is, thankfully, Dell provides a binary for libfprint, which some of you may know is the library and package on Linux to do fingerprint stuff. And that's fantastic. It works great in Mint. I haven't tried LMDE on this thing. I did try Pop! OS and the driver didn't install. I don't know why. But it worked fine on Mint. You'd think it'd be the same because it's the same base, but no, for whatever reason it doesn't.
Whoa, I think I just figured something out, Beavis.
What?
This sucks.
Yeah, it really sucks.
This sucks more than anything that has ever sucked before. We must find this butthole.
And yeah, honestly, I've been pretty happy just toying around with this thing. I get good battery life, which is one of the reasons why I'm switching roles. Even though, if I pull up the power statistics on this thing, you wouldn't think so, it being only an 80% capacity battery. But it does great. It does a good 3 or 4 hours before you need to plug it in. I've probably slowed that a little bit, running it off AC power all the time, but it does a good job. And it does actually get battery life, unlike this HP, which gets like 2 hours. That thing was rated at 5 hours. This thing will still see 4 hours. So that really affects what I'm wanting to do with this machine. So, like I said, this thing's going to be my travel machine. It's going to follow me places and allow me to remote back into my home network if I need to. And just to be a good machine. Plus, it's a 1080p display, so it still looks pretty nice. I can hook this up with the HDMIs. It still takes a Dell barrel, but it also takes USB-C. It's just good. And it does good things in that regard. And I just appreciate that. And these Dell Latitudes I had been pretty against for a few years here because of the build quality, but this thing kind of reversed my thoughts on that. So I think this thing does pretty well. It's built fairly well. I can service the RAM, I can service the Wi-Fi, the SSD, the battery. I could fix the display fairly easily. And it mostly just works. It's got a really nice keyboard on it. You know, I don't have many complaints. So I do want to end it this year on this one. So I guess for all of you guys, I'll see you next year. And hope we all have a great New Year's and a Christmas. Take care.
Linus is right. I won't let all this commercialism ruin my Christmas. I'll take this little tree home and decorate it, and I'll show him it really will work in our play.